Autism is a term that when I was growing up, I didn't hear about autism. So, you know, in the 90s, this has become a more mainstream. We've heard a lot more about it. And you wrote that when your son Nat was born in 1989, this was the autism stone age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about what's changed since then.
So first of all, we have the internet. You can find books and articles and support groups and blogs. And so you can hook in right away to parents who are going through some of what you're going through. You can also connect with self-advocates, with autistics themselves. In my own town library, there were 2 books. There was one called There's a Boy in There, just a memoir, a mom and a son, and the other was the DSM-4.
And the DSM-4 is?
Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, so it's complete medical jargon and extremely grim.
These were your options. This was supposed to reveal to you how to deal with your son's developmental disability.
Right. So right away, you're just terrified and discouraged.
I would say that we also have a much better understanding of the biological basis for brain differences. Mm-hmm. So that we used to have, just this sense that it was the parents' fault. It was like in autism, it was called the refrigerator mother. It was, you were just a bad mother, and that's why your
refrigerator
child was
mother,
different.
as in that she was cold, and that's why your child
wasn't responding emotionally or in a typical way. But even beyond autism, there was just this sense of a stigma associated with people who were born differently. And so now we have a better understanding of genetics and how, and gene mutations in the spontaneous way that people can, develop differently. And there's, it's, unfortunately, there is still a stigma, but I think it's becoming less stigmatized so that we have a slightly more enlightened education system where students are, with different needs are being included in mainstream schools.
You spoke about, and I thought this was a really interesting idea, that this could be addressing people with developmental disabilities, the next civil rights movement. What are you talking about? Explain that to me. I'm fascinated by the idea.
Well, there's a term that I wrote about called neurodiversity, which I think is almost self-explanatory when you think about it. But we care a lot in our society about diversity of all types of things, right? Diversity of ethnicity and background and skin color and gender. But and I think that in the last 20 years, we've also come to really place an importance on the integration of people with physical disability to our society. We have curb cuts and handicapped access, and that's just sort of a second nature thing, or should be by now, right? But for people with brain differences, it hasn't really happened yet. People whose brains develop differently and therefore they behave differently in our society, but have been regarded as with some hostility or fear, or just that they've still been ostracized. And there is this sort of movement, I guess you could call it a movement, that sort of driven by individuals themselves and parents and families and teachers who are sort of saying, well, look, this is the next civil rights frontier. This is what we have to do next. We have to learn to be tolerant of people and embrace people and understand people in our society, because not for some kind of PC reason, but because it will actually enrich our society and our understanding of humanity and how the world works, to embrace people who have differences like Rachel or like Justin or like your son. Right?
As a parent of someone with developmental disabilities, what's your take on that?
So I see neurodiversity as being this incredibly positive development where you have people, in the schools and in the community kind of saying to themselves, oh yeah, okay. This guy's on the spectrum, so let me relate to him this way. Let me try to rephrase that question. So it's a matter of the dynamic of society, letting people in, and the people with the disabilities to learn how to fit in.